Facebook. It's caught up in another scandal. The New York Times is reporting the site gave some of the world's largest companies wider access to data than previously revealed. Who are those companies? They include some pretty big names. Spotify, you know that one. Amazon, of course. Netflix, and maybe this will take you by surprise, a Canadian bank. Natasha Fata is working on these new revelations. So let's begin with the New York Times investigation. What did it discover?
So they looked at a number of documents, new bits of information going back to the year 2017, and they did interviews with 50 individuals, including former employees at Facebook and also other individuals who were involved in this data sharing process. Now, the fact remains that Facebook, in the history of humanity, is the biggest company to collect the most amount of personal data about individuals. And it's true that Facebook itself does not share that data, does not sell that personal information. However, the technicality is that they have dozens and dozens of partnerships with several hundred companies around the world, and it's through those partnerships that personal information from the users can be manipulated. So let's look at some of the highlights that came out through the investigation. More than 150 companies, most of them based in the Silicon Valley, tech companies, but also automakers, banks, media organizations, had critical access to information. Now, Suhanna, you mentioned some of the big ones, Spotify, Netflix, and Royal Bank of Canada. Many Canadians might be surprised to find out were involved in this. Often the users did not know that their information was being shared. They wouldn't have an ability to opt out of the information being shared. And in some of these instances, including reportedly with the Royal Bank of Canada, these companies would have access to one's personal messages and even the ability to delete those messages if they wanted to. So Facebook also let Microsoft Bing have access to some individuals. They could virtually look at your entire friend list. Then with Yahoo, they had the ability to go through your news feed without your consent. And Amazon had the ability to get your contact name and information through your friend's account. So all of this, very, very upsetting if you don't want your personal information out there, no ability to opt out of it. And the problem is also that Facebook itself was not keeping track of how much personal data from its users was being shared and how it might have been manipulated. And this becomes all the more complex when you start talking about the political angle of this. Certainly one of the biggest stories in the last couple of years has been the Cambridge Analytica story that got exposed. Well, this indicates that much more information was shared, again, without the user's knowledge. And then there was the reference to companies linked to the Kremlin possibly manipulating information and possibly manipulating the outcome of political elections in the United States.
Any response from the companies named in this investigation? Companies, our viewers will certainly recognize.
Well, Royal Bank of Canada is a critical one for Canadians. Of course, we have heard from them. So they sent a statement to CBC News Network basically saying that what is found in the article is not true. They said they did have a partnership with Facebook, but their usage was limited to that platform, that as of 2015 they stopped using it, and they said they were using it in the capacity of security and fraud protocols, but it doesn't entirely make clear how it was being used, and they say they at no stage were accessing or manipulating user messages. But the real key in this whole story is Facebook and its lack of control on this situation. So we have reached out to Facebook and we'll let you know as soon as we get a response.
All right, thank you, Natasha.